I'm going to continue with my series on the various gods of Greyhawk, and this time I'm covering Obad Hai. Today on Greyhawk Grognard. I've always thought that Obad Hai was a really interesting deity because it's one of the few times when we have a non-evil deity who has a well-known rivalry with a good aligned deity. Because Obad Hai is the god of nature. Let me get the actual words here. In my well-worn copy of the Guide to the World of Greyhawk, he is the flan and common god of nature, wildlands, freedom, and hunting. He's neutral and male. And the book sets up a rivalry between him and Ilona of the forest because she is neutral good and she's also goddess of the forest and flowers and animals and so forth. So they have this rivalry going. And it expresses itself in a couple of interesting ways. Um, but what we are told about Obad Hai, I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously, but just some of the highlights. Um, Obad Hai, the Shalm, is an archaic deity of nature and wildlands, one of the most ancient known, having been worshipped by the Flan prior to the arrival of invading Erdi, so the Iridians. He can appear in all kinds of different forms, including demi-humans, and he can turn into all kinds of different animals as well. So and animals and other creatures of the forest. So he can be a centaur. I call it a centaur. A leprechaun, pixie, sprite, tree ant, badger, brown bear, giant pike, giant porcupine, all kinds of different things. And he can just he can switch form instantly. And I like the fact that he has a nickname, the Shalm, which we don't even know what it means, as it's just thrown out there as a title. Um, Obad Hai's weapon is the Shalm staff. When it is discarded by Obad Hai, it instantaneously flies to the nearest hornwood tree where it remains until summoned. The staff allows the bearer to walk tirelessly without food or water for as long as desired. Animals will never harm the bearer. Vegetation will part to allow easy passage. That implies that sometimes Obad Hai will gift his Shalm staff to mortals or others to help them in some quest or whatever, because otherwise I mean, he's a deity. He doesn't need vegetation to part. Clerics who follow Obad Hai are usually druids. A few others are of the normal sort, and as we'll learn in a second, Obad Hai's clerics actually get druidic spells and some druidic powers at higher levels. Churches or chapels of Obad Hai are always rustic, or always in rustic settings, and made of rough timber. Services are brief and not particularly ritualized. Living flowers, earth, water, and fire are typical service adornments. Um, and what we do know about him and Alona, um, because of Obad Hai's particular neutrality, a rivalry and antipathy exists between this deity and Alona of the forests. Thus, the majority of the Sham's followers are male, those of Ilona female. So I thought that was an interesting dichotomy that we see there, because they have overlapping spheres of influence, nature and woodlands and so forth, and animals, but they have different alignments and outlooks on life. It's caused this kind of bifurcation where all the most of the men go to Obad Hai and most of the women go to Alona. I just thought that was an interesting thing. Um, and in terms of stats and abilities from the glossography, also from the original gold box, he's a ninth level cleric and a 15th level druid. That's pretty much it. Um, so you can tell that back in the olden days, deities didn't have to be stacked with like 100 levels of stuff to be deities and to be very powerful creatures. Um, we do learn that at third level, clerics may substitute a first level druid spell for a cleric spell, at sixth level a second level spell, and at ninth level a third level spell. So by the time you hit ninth level, you can get a first, second, and third level druid spell instead of a cleric spell, which is a kind of a neat thing. And their clerics pay 5% extra XP for these privileges. At 12th level, such clerics can take the ability to take any form of any small woodland animal or bird. They may use druidical as well as clerical weapons, and druidical clerics likewise get clerical weapons and spells. So if you're druid, you get the cleric spells in the same way that a cleric gets druid spells and weapons and armor and all that. Hi, everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. We don't get too much more in the From the Ashes book. He has an entry. It mainly covers the same territory. Uh, uh, you get a couple of spells: animal charm, divination, the spell, the spell spheres, I guess. Animal charm, divination. This would be for second edition. No extra spells. Turning, no, you don't get to turn undead, that sort of thing. So it's kind of the same. And we don't really get a lot in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer either, but what we do know, and I can share, um, uh, Lona, because of their difference in perspective, Alona and Obad Hai are unfriendly rivals, and we learn he also counts Phaeton as his enemy. Phaeton is god of skies and birds and so forth. So that's a new one that we don't see anywhere else, as far as I'm aware. Um, and then we get the domains and the weapons and so forth, but they don't really give a lot of extra information. There is one neat little thing. One should live in harmony with nature in all of its variety. Those who destroy or otherwise harm nature deserve swift vengeance in an appropriate manner. Those who are one with nature have little to fear, although the well-meaning but foolish are sometimes brought down by a danger they could not avoid or divert. The wilds can be ugly, dangerous, or terrible, but these things are a part of nature and should be respected as much as those that are beautiful, harmless, or wonderful. So that's what we know about the faith and the clerics and so forth. We do know that he does get mentioned in a number of different books and little bits and pieces here and there. He's on the material plane, but he has an actual dwelling called the Hidden Wood, which we don't know where that would be. Which is a very evocative, and I like that name. You kind of evokes an image of like like a fairy wonderland and so forth. That could be really cool. I believe that there's a shrine to him in the city of Greyhawk. It's mostly in the central Flyness, although there's nothing that says that you couldn't have a shrine to him somewhere further afield in the Sheldamar Valley or the Great Kingdom or something like that. But mostly you're going to see him where the Flan were prevalent. So that so it's usually the central Flyness around the near dive. Now, in terms of using Obad Hai in a game, you can easily turn that rivalry between him and Ilona into something. Especially it can be especially interesting because neither of them is evil, so you still have this friction and this rivalry between them, but you don't necessarily have to loop in something evil to make it to have tension in terms of driving the story. I could easily see some sort of maybe there was a forest fire or something, and they blame each other, or maybe somebody was there's an incident with some hunters or something that the one wants to protect the hunters and one wants to stop them and so forth. You could have a number of good things at kind of a lower level, conflict avoidance, rather than jumping in with swords blazing to right some wrong or whatever. You could throw in some very moral ambiguity and nuance in there if you wanted to, because of the nature of it, because it just is stemming from their different perspectives around the same sphere of influence. So it's not like it gives you a whole different feel from when you're just going out there to kill evil, or when evil is fighting good. Here you have evil fighting neutrality, which is a little good fighting neutrality, which is a different nuance to it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you ever done anything with Obad Hai? Please, if so, let me know in the comments. And I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. Get out there and treat with the centaurs and the satyrs in the woodlands. And I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.